Hello everybody, this is Stealth Lemon, also known as Michael, and welcome to the 2024 tier list. Nothing in particular that like this year specific, but as you may have found on my channel that I have made a series in which I went through each letter of the alphabet and I looked at all the games that I played in 2024, which is old news at this point, but I decided to go ahead and rank, not really rank, but I've decided my favorite game per letter. And I realized that some letters had a lot of competition, other letters kind of really didn't. So I figured that I would set the record straight here. So what I have decided is I went to any prospective YouTuber's best tool, and I've decided that we are going to be making a tier list. Yes, we're going to take all 26 of the games that I had talked about, and I'm going to put them in a tier list just to get a little bit more content out of this little project. So if you ever want me to elaborate or hear more of my opinions, this is the video for you. I'm just going to go alphabetical order. I'll explain the tiers very briefly. So I have Godly here. Godly is a game that I think is like everyone should play. We're going to be talking about this like years from now, I believe. It's a real heavy hitter if it's going to be up here in the Godly tier. So Orion Prelude, I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. But Great is going to be a game that I would say like has very few flaws and is a genuinely like solid pick. Like there's a high bar for you to be a great in my eyes because I'm so critical. Not really, but good is just an overall good time. You know, it's not perfect, but I mean, hey, it's like a nice comfort meal if you want to think of it like that. Decent means yeah, the game's decent. It's like you know, it's fun. It's a video game. You'll enjoy it for a bit, but I don't think that it's anything really too much to write home about in the end of the day. Mediocre, it's a little bit more of a stretch, right? You know, kind of says what it says on the tin. Like, there's like definitely better options out there. And then last is filler pick, because there were a couple of filler picks. Some people, I think, had a hard time as they were joining on the Discord, which you can find in the link down below, by the way, if you want to join the Discord. They've had a hard time coming up with certain games for certain letters of the alphabet. So I'm not going to lie, I scratched, you know, the bottom of the barrel for a couple of things. So some picks are going to go there. Now, let's start off alphabetically, as any sane person would do. Let's figure out where we're going to put Angerfoot. I think that Angerfoot is probably a nice, good tier game. I don't think that, again, it's like anything to write home about revolutionary or anything like that. I mentioned Neon White is probably like a better version of this game because it has cards in it or whatever. But I just think it's an overall good game. I think that's a good like litmus there. Balatro. I talked a pretty big game for Balatro. Balatro, whatever. There's a lot of appeal there. There's a lot of replayability. It has runs. It's either got to be godly or great. I think that it's godly. Just the impact that it had, I think, in this year of gaming, it's kind of similar to Undertale. I mean, time will tell for sure, but it was really like one of those things that kind of created like the whole new like idea, or at least did it the most well and got the popularity to like, you know, pay the bills, right? So I think the Balatro is probably going to be the first one in Godly. Now, where does Black Ops 6 go? I'm gonna put it decent. I don't think I can like put it in like good. It's a video game. I don't think it should like persuade people to try Call of Duty if they hadn't played it in a while. Apparently, like according to Steam numbers, it's not doing so well, but I think it's still like a top 3 game no matter what platform you're on. So like that can't be that bad. I don't think the game is bad per se. It's decent. It's not like I might move it around. We'll see, but I think that like in terms of like trying to persuade you to play it because of how good it is, I definitely can only say that it's decent. And I think Deadlock in its current state is also in that boat. It's not finished. Deadlock, I'm not going to order them within the tiers, by the way. Maybe like the top 2 I will, but Deadlock is also, it's in a rough state right now, man. I think that the people that are really trying to grind Deadlock are the tryhards, I guess. I hate to say it, but you have to, there's a really high like skill ceiling, and I think that you need to really be on it in order to actually like have a fun time playing it in its current state. And I think when more players get on, now that like, you know, the honeymoon period's over and people are waiting for new content, like once like it announces a super big update and a bunch of people hop on, it probably, you know, go up to maybe even here. But as of right now, I think in its current state, Deadlock is probably there. The Escapists, it's gonna be a little bloated, isn't it? I would say it's decent. Again, like I think I even said it in the video that like I played this game for like a day, like or 6 hours, which honestly I think that's still pretty good, right? But I can't really say it's like you should go and like go out of your way to play it if you haven't already. Maybe that's one of the challenges of having like an older game. It's a little bit more like proof of concept-y like going on, but I don't think I could put it in good. Maybe like, I think a lot of these you could say the good and decent are very close together, I think, but I think good just means it irks it out a little bit more, and I can see some other ones that are going to go over that. I'm gonna say Factoria's great, man. I don't think it's like genre defining. There are a lot of games that kind of copy Factorio and like improve upon it or like try to scratch the same itch. I'm definitely putting Factorio towards the top. I think that once you get into it, it's very hard to put down, and they kind of really get it. And it's just really nice when, you know, developers like make a game that's really, really fun. I'm gonna scroll up on this a little bit. Hopefully you don't see the annoying like Spectrum ad or something. I'm trying to go ad free here, guys. Our next one is Grocery Store Simulator. Look, I'm gonna look at this critically, right? So just keep that in mind when I say this. It doesn't mean I didn't have fun with it. This is not Grocery Store Simulator. When you really look at it objectively, it has a really addictive like gameplay loop. A lot of it I think is self-imposed. I don't think you know, that like, again, I'm gonna be convincing people to like play it other than like close friends. Like I don't think every Joe Schmo should get this game. I'm gonna assume that if you're playing games with your friends, that this would be a pretty good candidate. It's mainly because of its value and that it's so cheap. But really, when you like kind of crack open the inside, the depth is there, but I think it's only because I wanted it to do that. I don't think the game actually enabled that, you know, by its virtue of existing. You know what I mean? Like the game didn't make me want to min-max it. I just wanted to min-max it because it was fun. Like it was a nice cycle. And so I don't really think that I can say, I don't think that it's on the same tier as like Call of Duty or Deadlock or The Escapist, man. It's Grocery Store Simulator. Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is definitely, this is a good one. The Helldivers 2 I'm going to put in good. I played it for like 29 hours total. I can't tell you how many of those hours are like, you know, like being in a queue or something like that, right? So it's good game though. I got to like a pretty high level. I was unlocking stratagems. They probably added like a bunch. I haven't played it since they've added new factions to play against, or new weapons and the vehicles and all that stuff. So definitely want to play it again. I don't like think it's super revolutionary. It's a PvE game. The stratagem system is interesting, where you have to like beep boop beep beep, and that's really cool, and like throw it and then you see it all explode. It's just definitely very satisfying. It came out at a really good time, I think. But if I'm gonna play like a player versus environment, a PvE game, as you may know, I would rather play like Deep Rock Galactic. I think that game's a lot more deep in terms of like building your character. But I mean, this one, it's supposed to make you feel like a little grunt. Like, you're not supposed to be like having a super awesome build. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Into the Breach. I can tell you that this is a good game. It really just isn't for me. So I'm gonna say it's probably decent. Just at the very least. What I said in the video is very true. It's a strategy game where there is still obviously a little bit of like chance. There's like runs, so like you apparently go back in time. You get to say like one person out of your squad of 3 or like 2 or something like that. I don't know. It is a really fun game. It's the nice pixel graphics look really good. But Into the Breach, it's kind of just like it's a strategy game and a turn-based strategy, F that, and it's like a puzzle almost, and it just wasn't really tripping that well. So Into the Breach goes into decent. The Survey Scramble. Oh, I think that this is an interesting one because it really is like 8 games in one. It's 8 now, like it's not even like 6. I think there's already like really good value, and it's like a Family Feud thing. I think I'm gonna put it up here. I don't think it's like great or groundbreaking, but I definitely think that like within here in the good tier, it's just an overall really solid pick. I definitely would recommend you play the Survey Scramble just because it makes it more Family Feudy. So you're like contributing your answers to the database, and then you have to like use the popularity of different answers. I think is super interesting. It can be a little niche. I don't think you can play it like forever, but definitely to like come back to a little bit. There's some strategy, there's some team modes, there's a lot of variety. So overall, it's just a good pack. Kovacs is a filler pick. I use Kovacs legit. I used it like every day for about like a month, I would say, before I wanted to play Siege. It's a decent tool. I like it more than Aim Labs. Maybe it's because I paid money for it. But in the end of the day, man, it's a filler pick. I'm kind of surprised that like I didn't go ahead and cheat and say like Killer Instinct, which is a fighting game, like an actual game. But I just didn't play this year, and I kind of held myself to the rule that it would be played at some point in 2024. And Killer Instinct was not. This is the 2013 version. So if you're looking for a fun fighting game that starts with letter K, there you go. If you're looking for a fun game, I would say Kovacs is good if you want to practice your aim, but otherwise I wouldn't recommend it. All right, I'm gonna get some flack for this one. I'm gonna put Lockdown in just great. It's not godly. I think that they're pretty smart with the design. I think they really care about the balance of the way that the game plays. It's a social deduction game, which there's a lot of challenges in making one of those, especially where players can potentially eliminate each other. But also, it's very nice because once the imposter is eliminated, quote unquote, the game isn't over. So like you still have to like actually do the background tasks. There's a lot more emphasis on them, and they're just fun to do, I think, a lot of the time anyway. Doing them in a way where you like protect yourself from your teammates that are trying to mess with you or whatever. I think it's a lot of fun. I am very optimistic for its future. I know a lot of people didn't like the skins thing, because they're like, it's basically the price of the game to get some skins, but I kind of just think that's where the rubber meets the road in games nowadays. I really don't mind at all, especially it's all cosmetic. And they're like backer bonuses. So they paid people back for more money to get a skin for free, and other people can download it or whatever. That's pretty cool. Marvel Rivals, I think, is also going to be great. Man, this game really kind of seems like it is taking all the lessons that Overwatch didn't learn, and then basically is using that to its advantage. So that way, it's the Overwatch killer. I don't know what to say. They're playing towards a more casual audience. They're using hero bans, which is something that is from like League of Legends. So it's basically like you don't have to balance everything all the time, and that's what Overwatch 2 is struggling with, is that basically it's like you play a different game every 2 weeks or so in Overwatch 2, and if you're the like, oh, I want to be like the super dive heavy guy, then you're gonna think the patch sucks, versus the people who really like I don't know, like shields. I don't think anyone like likes shields, but like getting super tanky and buff, right? Like those are two different experiences. There are different players that like have like their mains or their like best people, and but the tanks especially, like 5v5. I guess we're going to talk about Overwatch now. In comparison to Marvel Rivals, it's really hard to not talk about the other one right now. Overwatch 2, I still think that there's a lot of value in it. I just think that Marvel Rivals, at least in its current state, is much better and has fewer flaws. It's very well polished. Overwatch 2 is always pretty polished, but again, just what we thought the game was going to be versus what it turned out to be is disappointing. Hazard, the balancing is just kind of all over the place. It's kind of a mess, actually, I don't think. But in a game like Marvel Rivals, even though there are some really powerful picks that you can have in Marvel Rivals, like Hela or Strange or whatever, they're hero bans. So like you can just get rid of them, and then you have to adapt and play someone else, or you know, maybe you got your meta pick, and then it's like, oh cool, I get to play like the really meta character, and then maybe you suck because there's an actual obscure. So like there's a lot of counterplay, and I think in terms of like making things competitive, I think it's a really good way. I really hope that they continue down that path. Don't do role queue. That's what basically, I won't say it killed Overwatch 2, but that was one of the things that the players of that game really don't like, just because like it makes your queue times a lot longer. And I mean, like, if you want to win and you don't have the healer, then guess what? You should be the healer. Like, that's how, like, Team Fortress 2 works and stuff like that, too. So, I kind of shut up about that. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. I'm only going to put in decent. It's not bad. It really isn't at all, especially in a PC experience for a platform fighter. There's not really a whole lot of those that really stick out to me anyway. And I was talking about, like, Brawl Out and, like... not Brawl Stars, it's like a mobile game, I don't know. Brawlhalla, that's the one. See, there's a lot of them. It's very much just, it's a good deal. It kind of sucks with what happened with NASB 1, because a lot of people thought that that was what everyone was going to get into, but it turns out like, no, we actually have this polished version that is objectively like probably much better, way better mechanics, way like more content in general, but it's just expensive, like $50. Maybe right now it's not because of sales, but yeah, and the DLC picks aren't really that great either. It's like Rocksteady, the Rhino from like TMNT, and then they put in like Zuko and Iroh or something like that, and like it's cool. It's just like, but they're avatar characters, so there's like 3 firebenders in the game now. I don't know. I mean, but they're obviously popular characters, so I'd just say it's decent. I don't think that it goes up to like good. And I don't think it's killing Smash Bros or anything. If I'm gonna play a plat fighter, it would probably be either Rivals 2 or it would be like Smash. So we'll get to that in a sec. Peglin. This is a great game. There's a lot of strategy, being able to pick the little balls and them like reloading. It's pretty intuitive, pretty easy. I wouldn't be surprised if it was hard to master. I haven't played it too much, but I can already tell that it is just a great time. Playing Peggle is great, and getting the little points and hearing all the sounds. This game ticks all the boxes, going down the paths. There's a little bit of randomness that kind of just keeps things interesting, and opportunities kind of fill up, stuff like that. Quake. I'm going to say great. I'm really tempted to put it in Godly, but I really want to cement that Godly is like a game that is like people will talk about forever, and Quake just isn't there anymore, or it hasn't been for a while. Quake is still a great game. I think everyone actually should really play it. especially just the history side of it. You know, it's like basically one of the first-person shooters that like kind of use 3D space really well. You know, that's not like Doom. Obviously, you got like Doom coming out nowadays. It's a lot more like Quake than it is like Doom, like the original, because of how the 3D everything works. And this is kind of just like the granddaddy of them all. I guess it's not really the granddaddy, it's more like just daddy. But yeah, you really can't go wrong with it at all, and it's even great to just fire up, play a level, and then kind of quit out, you know? But I definitely really wanted to play and beat Quake in the normal difficulty. It was awesome. I didn't like ever try it like hard, but I probably will someday. It's a great game. Rivals 2, I'm going to put in good. This game is good. There seems to be a lot of content coming out for it. It's relatively popular, I think, even still right now. The balance of the game seems to be relatively solid, or at least they're pretty dedicated in making it a solid experience in the future. It had a lot of early access time, but I think that, you know, you're able to use your character and just be very expressive. I think that that's what a lot of people are looking for in platform fighters. And you kind of lost that a little bit with like Ultimate, because everyone kind of just became viable, which is like sort of good. A lot of the time it's good. Obviously you don't want to be someone that's just straight up bad, but like it's like when everyone's viable, it kind of loses a little bit of identity with each person. Or like you can kind of just play everyone the same, you know? That's not that good. Rivals 2 definitely can't play everyone the same. But there's still some solid fundamentals. Definitely deserves a spot in the good category. I don't know if I could say it's great yet. It's just a little bit too bare bones. I'm sure that with a lot of the updates, it will probably go up to great. I don't think it's going to go to godly. I mean, like Smash Melee would be like godly, right? Because it's just very hard to deny like the impact of that game. Satisfactory, let's put that in great. Yeah, I think that it being in the same tier as Factorial, honestly, they scratch two different itches despite being like very automation focused, where it's like you're making a base, but like you're not really incentivized to like do all the tasks manually on your own. You're incentivized to make the factory do it for you, and then it's really nice because it's like you have a problem, then you solve the problem with automation, but then that automation creates new problems, and then the game kind of cascades from there. That's really the design principle of a game like Factorio or Satisfactory, but to a point that's very satisfying, because solving the problem is like really cool a lot of the time. Like you unlock, you know, your jetpack, or oh, I'm making like a whole bunch of these like ship parts and I'm advancing the story of the game or whatever, right? So Satisfactory is definitely gonna be in great. Oh, this is tricky. So Tekken 8. I think that Tekken 8 has a lot of value in it. There are some problems, especially around the balancing at the highest level, but I think that Tekken as a franchise especially is becoming more and more casually oriented and like focused, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that like more and more people are having general appeal to Tekken 8, especially because this guy's in it. You know, that's Clive from Final Fantasy 16, I think is what they're on. So brought back like the Final Fantasy guest character. They brought back Heihachi as a DLC character, but the story mode is really good. It's a very big improvement on 7. I would say that Tekken 8 is definitely in like the great game spot. I can't really think of too many flaws. The monetization was weird sometimes because it was like you could get like the season pass and the DLC for the character, like you get it, but you couldn't get their stage. It was like a separate thing. I don't really remember, but I know they rolled that back. You get like a Chipotle shirt. I mean, I don't know. It's just a cool experience game. If it's gonna be like your main fighting game, I really think that you're eating pretty good with Tekken 8. Obviously, you know, until they fix the balance stuff, maybe not. It might like jump down here, but I think that, at least for me personally, I look at it pretty fondly. UFO 50. It's really hard to not put it as godly. So UFO 50 is interesting because it is technically 50 different games, each of them have a lot of depth, like the depth of a Super Nintendo game. Like you just bought a Super Nintendo game and you're playing it, except it's a developer that made the game. I know that this game has been in development for some time, but like the like story of it is that you're dusting off these cartridges for this old like machine that's from like the 80s, and it's like a long lost console, but like there's a lot of modern game design principles here, and everything feels really snappy. You know, saves and checkpoints, progress like being checked, achievements that you can like potentially unlock and like go for. So bringing back a whole lot of genres that people probably say are dead, but like with a new fresh coat of paint and like a new life brought to them that again takes advantage of like our modern perspective, is like a chef's kiss. We should get UFO 100. Let's make it happen where there's 100 of them. It's also really hard for me to not put Vampire Survivors up here. I don't know. It's awesome because all the indie games are up here, and I definitely think that they deserve them. Vampire Survivors now has a lot of like different DLC stuff, but in the end of the day, like you're walking around a field and you're picking up gems, and since that is already entertaining, then like I don't know what else you could do. I mean, it's like you pick up the gem, you level up your character, you get to pick your weapon, except it isn't always that simple because there's systems like as you level up your character you can get like these like banishments where like you can make something like never come up again, but you don't grab an item. But that means that like when you go in subsequent rolls, when you pick an item, like you're guaranteed to not get the one you don't want. So that means you see more of what you do want. You can curse yourself. You can like give yourself permanent upgrades. Well, they're semi-permanent because you can always refund it and then do another like skill tree. And I just think that there's a lot of like skill expression, I guess, in it. You can really grind gold. I mean, there's just so many things. The only downside to it is that there are a lot of like unlockable people, but they're all just kind of tied to like beating the level or like going to a certain spot in the level, which is a little bit like but like, and like you think that completion is using each character to go to each stage, and that's kind of like, and the stage variety, there is some like it's pretty clear that there's a stage variety, but it's kind of minute, like very subtle changes, right? A guy wouldn't even know like what the easiest stage is anymore. You'd assume it's like the forest stage at the start, but honestly I think the library is probably easier, and that's like not a screen you can go in all directions. You can only go like left or right, and it's stuck going up and down. So Vampire Survivors I think is definitely should continue. There should be more games like that. I think we're going to go back to We Love Katamari Reroll. Yeah, it's an addicting game. You know, it's like got the Katamari, the music is awesome. The being able to grow when you see all the little things, and then you grow bigger, and then you start like absorbing the dogs and the people or the marshmallow sticks or like just really obscure objects. It's an awesome experience. It's kind of like Quake. It's a pretty old game, like all things considered, but like I think that it's just kind of a classic. I don't think you can really go wrong with it like at all. XCOM is a classic. I think you really have to be into it though. I think that this is probably where I put it. It's kind of like Into the Breach, right? Where it is like a turn-based strategy game, like ultimately at its core. I think XCOM is probably better than Into the Breach. There are, of course, a lot of issues with it. It's kind of like a relaunch of the franchise from like its retro days. And again, at a certain point, I really just had like a retro kick, and I really wanted to play like these older kind of style games, right? So XCOM was on that list, and I thought it was really cool and fun to like customize your characters, give them perks and skills, and the permadeath is very impactful. You know, at a certain point though, it's like, am I going to finish the campaign each time? I wasn't super motivated to do that. Again, like XCOM could really go in either of these, but I think I'm just gonna put it in good because I don't think I've enjoyed it personally on the same level of these. I mean, like, good is probably like 8 out of 10, right? And this is like 9, and this is like 10 probably, or like 9.5 to 10. So like I'd say that this is still pretty good, and these are maybe more like your 7s, right? Yoku's Island Express. Yeah, it's pretty good. The main thing is that this game is pretty short. I think that I beat Yoku's Island Express in like 4 hours, but it is very cute. It's a very cute 4 hours, and I don't think I did any of the like collectibles or anything like that. I usually don't go for those in these kind of style of Metroidvania games. That's a pretty common thing to put in your Metroidvania is like collectible objects that maybe give you like a trophy or something. I don't know. The soundtrack of this game is phenomenal. The visuals are phenomenal. I do know that, again, the game is a little short. It was kind of like, it almost felt like it was exhausting all of its ideas, and it ended right as it did, which makes it good. Not every game has to be like an 8-hour experience, but again, this is like an 8 out of 10 game. Last is Zero Caliber. This is a filler pick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Zero Caliber was a filler pick. It's really going for Call of Duty. it's trying to be Call of Duty in VR. It was sad to hear what happened with like the devs. They said that the community basically said like, yeah, the devs kind of just gave up. They're probably making, I know they're making Zero Caliber 2, so maybe that's what all their attention is going to, but Quest is definitely a big player in the VR space, and if you're not making a game for the Quest, or that will be played for the Quest, then your install base is down significantly. Like Half-Life Alyx is probably like one of the main reasons why a lot of people got like a PC VR headset, but PC VR just in general is kind of going out. It's like a really small market, so you gotta really make it count. Versus in the Quest, I mean, like, a lot of studios make games for, like, the Quest, and they're relatively cheaper to make, I think. I don't think Zero Caliber is necessarily, like, a cheap game. It's probably, like, in reality, it's probably, like, here. But I just think it was a filler pick for my list. I don't really have a strong desire to play it. Then again, like when I did my A video, A-Tech Cybernetic, I was kind of surprised with how fun it was, even though in the end of the day, it was just kind of really arcadey, like an arcadey shooter. And I don't think it like will finish itself very well, but it was fun to like bonk stuff with the stick, and it was really funny, fun to make fun of. But yeah, this is the 2024 review list. I'm going to stick to this. If you have any hot takes, like if you think that Lockdown Protocol should be up here, or if you think the Grocery Store Simulator should be like up here, you know, Bob's your uncle. But it's my list. Let me know what you agree with, and also let me know what you might want to see in the channel in the future. I have a couple more ideas of things to put on here. I'm definitely gonna try to like get a little bit more of a focus on creating content, but I really want to give some finality to the series, and what better way to do that than pretty close after the new year. So with that being said, this has been Stealth Lemon, and I am signing off. See ya, dudes.